Did you know that nearly 85% of people admit to feeling a quiet, persistent loneliness, even when they're in a relationship? It's a striking realization, isn't it? It makes you pause and wonder, perhaps the issue isn't within us at all, but within what we've been taught to believe about love. From our earliest days, we're handed a story, polished, enchanting, and endlessly repeated, whispering that we are incomplete, that we are fragments, forever searching for our missing piece, half-formed beings longing for the one who will make us whole. It sounds romantic, almost sacred. Yet buried inside that beautiful myth is the seed of our suffering. Because if you believe you're only half, every moment alone feels like something has gone wrong. And so we begin the search. We learn how to smile just right, say what's expected, hide the parts of us that might be too wild or too tender. We start performing love the way a flower bends toward sunlight, desperate for warmth, afraid of fading without it. When someone seems to choose us, we call that dizzy rush falling in love. But what if that feeling, that trembling urgency, isn't love at all? What if it's fear, dressed in a beautiful disguise? Imagine this paradox. Someone spends years in meditation, sinking into the stillness of oneness, feeling utterly connected with everything. And yet moments later they whisper, "Why can't I find someone to love me?" It's like a wave remembering it is the ocean, and still longing for another wave to hold. This is the strange meeting point between awakening and the human heart, the space where clarity and longing coexist. The loneliness that arises here isn't about empty rooms or absent hands. It's the loneliness of seeing, the quiet ache of realizing you can't unsee the invisible threads, fear, desire, dependency, pulling at the gestures we once called love. You stand there half-awed, half-lost, watching the dance of attachment and approval unfold, and suddenly a question stirs. If what we call love is mostly a trade between two hungry souls, each promising to soothe the other's fear of being alone, then what is true love? And why does awakening to your own wholeness make the ordinary game of romance feel impossible to play? This is the journey we begin together, a slow, gentle unraveling of an ancient story. Perhaps by the end you'll see that your loneliness and confusion aren't proof that you are broken, but evidence that something inside you is waking up. A soft cracking open, the first breath of a deeper truth. Love isn't what you find, it's what remains when you stop searching. The path doesn't lead outward toward someone else's arms, it leads inward, back to the quiet center, where the search itself ends, and love begins to breathe through you. Let's return, then, to the myth we inherited. From the moment we are young, we are taught to believe we are unfinished. Puzzle pieces waiting for their match, melodies missing their final note. Happiness, we're told, waits in the arms of the one. But hidden within that promise is a wound, the quiet assumption that we are not already whole. And so we spend our lives chasing what was never missing. This endless pursuit becomes our definition of love, an ache mistaken for devotion, a transaction disguised as tenderness. We enter rooms not to connect, but to be rescued. We scan faces and silently ask, "Could you be the one who makes me enough?" And the other, just as longing, asks the same. Two souls meet, not as oceans overflowing, but as deserts thirsting. And they call that thirst love. Alan Watts once described it perfectly. Two hungry ghosts making arrangements in the dark, each hoping the other has the food to fill an emptiness that can never be filled from outside. That isn't love. It's a contract. I'll quiet your fear if you quiet mine. I'll make you feel enough if you'll do the same for me. And yet beneath all that trembling, there is sincerity. The early rush feels like flight, the sleeplessness, the wild heartbeat, the constant orbit around another's name. It feels like magic. But beneath the magic, if you listen carefully, there's a hum of anxiety, a whisper that says, "Don't go. Don't leave me here." The fire burns so bright because it is fed by need. It dazzles, yes, but it consumes quickly. It is not the warmth of love, but the fever of wanting to feel safe. We have mistaken the intoxication of fear for the radiance of connection. We have confused the relief of being seen with the peace of simply being. Real love begins elsewhere, quietly, patiently, when we stop asking another to complete us and remember, perhaps for the first time, that we were never incomplete at all. We can begin by naming the weather inside. Not to judge it, only to feel the temperature of the air we breathe. There is the hush before a message is read, the pulse that climbs stairs two at a time, the glance slipped toward a door to be sure it is still there. There is the old animal in the ribs that trembles at the thought of being left outside. We dress this creature in fine clothes, charm, wit, timing, but it listens only for footsteps that return. Notice the pace, how quickly we compose ourselves, how we edit sentences mid-breath to be more wanted. We angle our faces toward approval as if turning a solar panel to sun. When approval arrives, we glow. When it tilts away, we dim. This is not failure. It is a well-practiced reflex, a culture's choreography, living through our bones. Under the choreography lies a simple bargain. You will be my shelter from emptiness if I will be yours. We do not speak the contract aloud. Our smiles sign it. We learn the currency, attention, reassurance, the soft pledge of always, and we trade with devotion. For a time, the market is bright. Then the rates change as markets do. We feel the cost, and we call the cost love. Listen closely to the body during the first rush, the sleeplessness, the sparkling mind rehearsing outcomes, the appetite that forgets itself. It has the flavor of celebration, yes, but also the taste of vigilance. The heart wears armor under silk. We say, "I am alive," and somewhere a smaller voice replies, "I am afraid to lose this." Anger visits too, often as a guardian for fear. When the other does not answer on our preferred schedule, when their freedom brushes against our need, heat rises. We call it righteous clarity. But if we hold it gently in our hands, it reveals a tremor. Do not let the light move away from me. Again, no blame, only the warmth of recognition. There is also the exhaustion, the endless scanning of rooms and timelines, the hopscotch between possibilities, the quick arithmetic of, do they meet the shape in my mind? We scroll like sailors measuring the horizon for a particular lighthouse, forgetting that we ourselves are beacons on a coast we have not learned to trust. Sometimes the search wears spiritual clothes. We speak of vibration, alignment, destiny, beautiful words true at a certain depth, yet we smuggle into them the old bargain. Find me someone who proves that I am as whole as I hope. We meditate, then check our phones. We chant, then check the door. The sacred and the anxious alternate like waves in a wind-blown bay. What makes all this tender is that it began in innocence. A child once learned that attention equals safety. The body remembered. The body kept us safe. Even now, when the room is quiet and the locks are strong, a wind carries the earlier weather under the door. We respond as we learned. The response is intelligent. It is simply outdated. So we hurry. We assemble cells for presentation, curated, luminous, a little invulnerable at the edges. We call this readiness. But readiness, if you feel it with the palm of a slower hand, can disguise a flinch, the preemptive brace against being seen and not chosen. And so we practice a careful magic. We appear, but not entirely. We offer, but with conditions printed small. In crowds, a different loneliness arrives, the kind that comes from speaking a language we barely believe. We laugh on cue and sense between the syllables, a draft from an open window somewhere behind the wall. We are not bored, we are dislocated. The mouth moves. The spirit is standing by the window, listening for something without a name. When two people meet in this weather, the meeting is sincere and also fragile. Two hungry ghosts, as an old teacher once said, arranging terms in the dark, not because they are greedy, but because they are hungry together. For a while, the sharing feels like feast. Then the plates grow light, and fear returns to count the forks. If you find yourself here, noticing these patterns with a clarity that is almost impolite, know that this noticing is not unkind. It is the lamp turned toward the stage so the props can be seen. It does not scold the play. It reveals the ropes and pulleys. The actors keep acting, but you are no longer fooled by the thunder made from sheets of metal. Diagnosis is not the same as verdict. To diagnose is to say, this is the shape of the current. It explains why the boat behaves as it does. It does not call the boat wrong. It invites the sailor to feel the wind as wind, the tide as tide, the habit as habit. Only then can the hands learn a different grip on the oars. And if in the midst of this you feel a new loneliness, the solitude of seeing, recognize it as a threshold. The room where everyone dances to music of need is warm. Stepping to the door will feel cold at first. That chill is not punishment, it is night air. Outside, stars are practicing a slower song. There comes a quiet turning. Not a revelation that shouts, but a subtle rearrangement of light. What if, you begin to wonder, the problem was never the hunger itself, but our belief that someone else must feed it? Imagine sitting by the ocean after the tide withdraws, the sand still glistens. The sound has not vanished, it lingers in your bones. You begin to notice that the ocean's never truly gone, it only changes form. Perhaps love is like that. Not something to be found or lost, but something that shifts shape, depending on where you are standing. This is where the mind loosens its grip. You start to see the old stories unravel. The idea of my other half fades like a constellation behind morning clouds. You remember how every story you've ever been told began with lack, missing pieces, sleeping beauties, locked towers. The entire theater of romance built on the same script. You are incomplete. What if the play was beautiful but mistaken? What if we have been singing to mirrors, asking them to echo back our own forgotten song? Notice how the heart responds when you ask this. At first it resists. It has invested years in the pilgrimage of finding. It wants its reward. Yet beneath the resistance is relief, soft as a sigh. The burden of seeking begins to slide away. The horizon expands. There is more air, more silence. Now you start to glimpse love as something vaster, an awareness rather than a transaction. It is not a flame passed between two trembling hands, but the fire that burns quietly within all wood. It does not begin when two eyes meet. It reveals itself when, even alone, you feel the warmth of being alive. From this point, romance transforms. It is no longer a lifeboat against the sea of solitude. It becomes a meeting of travelers who have already learned to swim. You can feel the difference immediately. There is no bargaining, no tightening of the chest. The space between two people becomes wide enough for honesty to breathe. You can say, "I love you," without the hidden footnote, "Don't leave me." You can listen without waiting for confirmation that you exist. The old excitement fades. Yes, but not into dullness. It softens into something quieter, like dawn after a long storm. What you once called passion was often anxiety in costume. Now the thrill comes not from danger, but from resonance, from recognizing the same stillness in another's eyes that you have discovered in your own. And as this stillness grows, you begin to understand why awakening can feel so isolating at first. It is not that others are asleep. It is that you can no longer pretend the dream is real. You see the subtle contracts of need playing out all around you. People promising forever when what they mean is, "Please don't let me vanish." You see it, and something inside you bows tenderly. Not superiority, not sadness, compassion. You too once danced that dance. Slowly the noise of seeking turns into silence. In that silence, a new kind of listening appears. You start to notice the smallest things. The weight of sunlight on your hand. The way air hums when no one speaks. The pulse in your wrist that matches the ocean's rhythm. These are not symbols. They are proof. Proof that connection was never missing, only overlooked. The question, "Who will love me?" begins to dissolve. In its place arises something else. What is this love that breathes through me? It's no longer personal. It's elemental. Like gravity, it simply moves, pulls, holds. You can feel it in laughter, in patience, in the ordinary act of washing a cup. Perhaps you think all along I've been mistaking the reflection for the source. The beloved was never only a person. It was the movement of being itself, showing you your own depth. Lovers, teachers, strangers, all of them mirrors angled differently, all of them pointing back to the same quiet center. Once this understanding begins to take root, the tension that once defined relationships softens. You realize love was never a puzzle to solve. It was the ground you were standing on. You were not waiting to be completed. You were learning to see. And so the wave stops searching for another wave to touch. It simply feels the ocean moving through it. The loneliness does not disappear. It changes flavor. It becomes a vastness, a tenderness for all things still dreaming of separation. You no longer need to be understood in order to rest. You rest because the search itself has ended. Now the heart begins to breathe differently, slower, wider. The air carries a new clarity. The understanding that love does not begin with another. It begins the moment you stop running from your own presence. There is a moment, almost imperceptible, when the effort stops. Not because you have given up, but because you finally see that there is nothing to chase. What you were seeking has been breathing through you all along. It is like waking from a dream of running. The landscape dissolves, and you find yourself already at home, your own breath moving like wind across a quiet field. No thunder of arrival, no fanfare, only a deep exhale that feels like truth. From here, everything softens. You no longer look for love the way a beggar looks for coins. You begin to love as a tree gives shade, naturally, without decision, without expectation of return. Love, in its pure form, is not a transaction between two half-formed hearts. It is an overflow of presence, a recognition. When you are full, it spills without effort. When you are quiet, it speaks through you in gestures so small they almost disappear. A pause before replying, an attentive silence, a kind gaze. There's no longer the nervous need to hold, to bind, to keep. You see how love that tries to possess turns brittle. It fears the very freedom that makes it alive. So you let go, not in cold detachment, but in reverence. You let people be what they are, and in that permission, you finally meet them. At first, this freedom can feel like emptiness. The drama has gone. The old tension is missing. But wait. Beneath that stillness is a new rhythm, slower, steadier, more trustworthy. It is the rhythm of life lived from wholeness. You no longer fall into love, you rise with it. The relationships that once drained you now reveal their shape. They were classrooms, each one teaching you how not to abandon yourself. You can thank them, even the painful ones, especially the painful ones. Without them, you would not have noticed the difference between hunger and communion. When love flows from fullness, even conflict changes flavor. You no longer defend yourself like a fortress. You listen, you respond, you do not shrink. The conversation becomes two mirrors reflecting light rather than two shields colliding. How can we move together through this replaces who is right. This shift is not a miracle granted by the heavens. It is the ordinary magic of attention freed from fear. You begin to see that nothing needs to be added to the moment for it to be complete. The simple act of being awake is already an offering. And so you start to live differently. You stop scanning the horizon for signs. You look instead into the present, into the smallest, plainest things, the warmth of a mug, the hum of traffic, the slight smile of a stranger. Each one whispers, "You are already connected." Love, then, is not something that happens to you. It is something you allow to happen through you. Like light through glass, it needs only transparency. The more you resist, the dimmer it grows. The more you surrender, the clearer the glow. Try this. Sit quietly for a moment. Let your breath move without command. Notice the small expansion with every inhale, the soft release with every exhale. In this rhythm, you can feel the same pulse that moves galaxies and tides. That is the heart of love, unhurried, infinite, without object. When you walk through the world from this place, you carry a new stillness. People may sense it before you speak. They may relax without knowing why. You have become what you were searching for. The calm in the room, the unspoken safety. And yes, there will still be loneliness at times, but it no longer bites. It breathes. It becomes spacious, a reminder of how wide your heart has grown. Loneliness, too, is made of love, love waiting for another form to pour into. This is the secret of surrender. You stop trying to fix life and start allowing it to unfold through you. No longer a seeker, no longer a half, simply a being, whole and luminous. The wave no longer pleads with the ocean. It dances because it remembers it is the ocean. Stay here for a while. Feel the quiet weight of your own completeness. Notice how nothing is missing, how every sound, the ticking clock, the wind outside, the hum of your body, participates in the same vast symphony. You do not need to become love. You already are. All that was ever asked of you was to stop pretending otherwise. And so the circle closes, softly, like dusk folding into itself. What began as longing ends as quiet recognition. The search dissolves, not in defeat, but in understanding. There was never anywhere else to go. The horizon you were chasing was the edge of your own heart. Now the air feels lighter. The questions that once pressed so urgently, why can't I find love? Why am I alone? Have lost their teeth. They drift like old leaves on a still pond. You smile at them, perhaps even fondly, for they led you here. Without their ache, you might never have turned inward. This is not an ending that shuts a door. It is the beginning of an entirely different kind of movement, one that doesn't grasp, doesn't hurry. The rhythm of being replaces the rhythm of pursuit. You walk slower now. You listen more. Even the silence between sounds feels like companionship. Imagine standing by the sea again. The wind moves through you. The water glimmers without expectation. You no longer ask the waves for meaning. You let them speak in their own language of rhythm and surrender. For the first time, you realize that every crest, every fall, is your own breathing reflected back to you. The ocean has never been outside. When love arises from this recognition, it does not arrive with fireworks. It appears as stillness, the kind that glows behind the eyes, the kind that doesn't need to declare itself. You find yourself smiling at strangers without reason, feeling tenderness for things you cannot own. A cloud, a child's laughter, the slow crumble of an old wall touched by ivy. You are loving, and you are loved by existence itself. Even if another never comes to walk beside you, there is no emptiness. There is spaciousness, a freedom vast enough to hold all that you once feared to lose. And if another does appear, whole in their own right, it will not be to complete you, but to harmonize. Two suns rising side by side, each shining from its own center. From this wholeness, everything becomes relationship. The breath, the sky, the taste of morning tea, the ache of remembering. You do not seek connection. You are connection. Each gesture, each word, each pause becomes a ripple of the same endless sea. You begin to live as a lighthouse does, still luminous, quietly useful. You are not searching the horizon for another beam. You stand where you are, and your light naturally meets the light of others, sometimes near, sometimes far. There is no rush, no despair. Light recognizes light, and perhaps that is the truest intimacy. Not fusion, not possession, but recognition. The silent O of meeting another and knowing that beneath all stories, we were never strangers. Take a breath. Feel it enter and leave, effortless. This breath has never abandoned you. It has loved you through every illusion, every heartbreak, every prayer. It asks for nothing but your awareness. That awareness, clear, open, patient, is love. Now, if loneliness comes, greet it like a friend returning with a story to tell. Let it sit beside you. Pour it tea. Listen. It will speak of all the places in you still learning to stretch toward the infinite. It will remind you of your capacity to feel, to open, to care. And when the conversation fades, when the cup is empty and the silence deepens, you may notice something gentle and bright behind everything. A warmth that has no center, a peace that requires no explanation. That is what remains when all seeking ends. It is not victory. It is not enlightenment. It is simply the world as it is, vast, intimate, breathing with you. You were never broken. You were never separate. The wave was always the ocean, just playing at being small. So walk softly now. Let your steps echo through this new silence. You are home. You always were. And love, the quiet, infinite kind, was here all along, waiting for you to notice.